Wow. That was the voice of a very, very important person in the evolution of this culture we know as hip hop. For so many reasons, and normally I would do this introduction, but I feel it'd be inappropriate if Heather chimed in on this. But I will say this: that his brother is easily one of the most influential people in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when the Criminal Minded Project came out, and my brother and I used to sit up in our shared room off of East 22nd Street in East Oakland and listen to this music and listen to these lyrics. And the thing that I loved so much about it was the enunciation, the way his diction was, the tone of his voice, and the words that he used were so powerful. You knew then that he was a philosopher, that he was a thinking man. And then you also knew that there was depth in his content because he educated us from day one. You know, he was always on the side of the disenfranchised from day one. He was making us aware that we were being indoctrinated in a way that wasn't favorable for who we are as a people in the culture.
Mm-hmm.
He taught us to search for other information that, you know, what you may find in the public school system or what you're being taught isn't good for you since day one. We're young people in our most transformative years getting this information from a peer who's nearly our age from day one.
Right.
He made bangers. He gave us insight to what it's like to live in New York City, to be homeless. He gave us a lot of information that helped shape and mold us today. I'm talking about KRS-One, but standing next to him through this whole process, the same way my brother T. Calloway has an amazing story. He had a younger brother that was in the shadows that kind of kept him, you know, stable, kept him balanced, kept him on the course, same as KRS-One. His younger brother has a story to tell. And his story gives us insight on who Chris is and who their family was as they were coming up. We used to hear the stories have to be about them being in homeless shelters,
Mm-hmm.
being in being out on the streets. This book paints the picture to the detail, and it makes you appreciate who they are as a family even more. So you want to add on to this?
I was telling Kenny yesterday how proud I was of him just finding the time and the energy and just remembering so much. I think we talk a lot about documentation here and how important it is just to sort of start, recognizing your history and your legacy and everything that you and your family have tried to build. And I think Kenny did an amazing job at capturing what life was like prior to the lights, the action, the camera, and becoming a superstar. And for me, knowing Kenny since college, how they made it out, for Kenny to be an educated, a formally educated man, graduating from a Jesuit institution with a degree in psychology, and his brother becoming a hip-hop legend and icon, a music legend and icon, I should say, because I want to take it outside of hip-hop, is nothing short but a miracle, you know? Yeah, absolutely. Happy to have him here today.
Let's talk about his new book, My brother's name is Kenny.
Yes.
That's Kenny Parker.
Thank you for having me. Oh, my goodness.
Absolutely. We got the legendary, the iconic one himself.
Wow.
Woo!
Kenny Parker. Kenny Parker.
What's up?
Kenny Parker.
What's good?
Legendary. My brother's name is Kenny. That's Kenny Parker. My other brother, ICU, is much darker.
I've heard that phrase every single day of my life for the past 35 years.
Really?
straight.
People say this?
Every day.
Wow.
That phrase changed my entire life.
How so?
I was a regular college student the day before my philosophy came out.
Uh-huh.
And the next day, I was signing autographs and getting mobbed because of that one line
Wow.
in a record. Back then, a shout out was so tremendous in a rap song.
Uh-huh.
And then for KRS-One to say, that's my brother and that's his name, Kenny Parker. The next day, literally the next day, I was mobbed. I couldn't go anywhere in the city.
How did you cope with that? Because when you read through the book, you were always kind of like the shy one.
Yes. How did I cope with it? It was difficult.
Yeah.
Because I didn't do anything. I always believed, and I was raised to believe, that you get accolades when you do something.
Uh-huh.
I didn't do anything. My brother said, that's my brother over there. And everybody started handing me demo tapes and, where's your brother? Can I meet him? And why are you in the supermarket shopping for food? You know, I'm like, I'm a college student. I'm about to get some oodles and noodles from over here and half a chicken from down there, you know, regular stuff. But all of a sudden, it was just overwhelming.
What year was that?
1988.
1988. Now, when I'm speaking from a fan from coming from the West Coast, you know, and we thought that your brother, like nobody could beat up KRS-One. That's how we thought. Like he had so much bravado in who he was as an MC. Where did that come from, though?
You know, it's interesting because we weren't raised like that.
Yeah.
You know, we were mild-mannered kids. We were the kids that liked to play sports, played Skelly. We went to the library on our own. We actually, on our own, went to the library and read books. And, you know, I was the shy one, and my brother was even more quiet than I was. I was really the lead.
Chris was more quiet.
I was, up until we were like 17, 18 years old, I was the lead. Everything that I did, he followed me. All my friends were his friends. He had no friends. All my friends were his friends. I played ball, he played ball. I played Skelly, he played Skelly. Until hip-hop came. And then he found himself. Like, he just went through life just existing. And then hip-hop came, and then he was like, this is all I want to do with my life. Like, just like that.
Let's paint that picture. You said he went through life just existing. So, as a kid, when you read this book, Kenny really just lets us into what their family life was like.
Brutal.
It was brutal. I'm going to walk this up a little bit because it's kind of helping me understand who y'all are.
Yeah.
And how you got here. And by the way, at this time, y'all living where? At the Lenox Terrace?
Yeah, we were living in Lenox Terrace in Harlem.
Uh-huh. Which is a nice building.
Yes.
Well, the dorm, we had cable in 1971.
What?
Nobody, first of all, most buildings weren't even wired for cable, but Lenox Terrace was wired for cable. We had cable. Actually, we had cable in our room.
That's a
I
flex.
was balling. We was balling. 71, we was balling.
Y'all were balling.
Before the ceiling fell in. But yeah. before the bottom fell out.
The
But
bottom fell out eventually.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep walking a little bit. All right. And so you got music playing. You got a mother who's a stickler for education. You're living in Lenox Terrace with an insane man who's not your real dad. He's your stepfather.
Yes.
Who gets so frustrated and abusive that he puts a gun to your mother's head. And then eventually she leaves him.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then that Lenox Terrace lifestyle goes to total opposite.
The next day. It's like it was Christmas Eve she left. So the one day you're living with a doorman, fish tank, cable, everything you wanted, and the next day we moved to the Bronx in like a tenement, and she just moved with like the clothes on her back and her kids. So basically, you know, we went from that to roaches, rats, to, you know, for me at like 6, I'm like, yo.
The first time you saw a rat in the house?
I can't remember. It was just normal. It was so normal that I can't remember our first time. It was like, okay, that's a rat. Okay, get used to it. But roaches, it was just roaches. You know, you come in the kitchen, you cut the lights on, look like a carnival in the kitchen.
A carnival?
You see like 50, 60, 70 roaches in the kitchen. You cut the light on. But that becomes normal. So you cut the light on, they run, then you do what you got to do, and then it just becomes normal after a while, you know.
While all this is happening, Mike Muse, I just want to paint the picture, right? And then let HB jump on this too. But while all this is happening in the neighborhoods that you are, what are your relationships like? How with other kids?
Rough. I mean, we got bullied a lot, you know, and our father never taught us to fight, or I never knew how to fight. I was scared to fight. So you move to the Bronx, to the hood, and you're scared to fight. That's a problem. So I'm not going to speak for Chris. I'm going to speak for myself. I mean, I got robbed every day, bullied, beat up. And after a while, you get used to that. Like, okay, I'm going to go outside. Somebody's going to take my money. But, you know, this is just what it was. You know, it took me a while to kind of figure out how to navigate in the hood. It took me years, actually.
So you would get robbed of what money?
Your mother sent you to the store. go get eggs, bread, milk. She gave back then. That's probably like $2. you
Yeah.
know, you get back 50-cent change, 35-cent change. You on your way home from the store, somebody just run up on you, run your pockets, and they just take whatever's in your pocket. So you come back home, and your mother's like, "Where's my change?" These dudes took it. And that was like a regular. That was like a regular
every other day.
every other day.
Every
You go to
other
the
day.
store, you just
so,
get robbed.
so Chris and you were getting bullied a lot.
A lot. But you know, I'm gonna speak for myself because
No,
we was
no.
let me say we were together every single day,
Okay.
24/7. But we
Uh-huh.
we got robbed and bullied a lot. As you know, we're like 7 years old, and a 10-year-old run up on you. You know, that's like a giant.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
10, 11-year-old run up on you like, "Yo, what's up?" And you're 7. You're like, "Yo,
Yeah.
nothing."
Here,
take, you know.
Nothing's up.
Yeah.
I'm curious about, and the reason why I'm bringing up these relationships with men, and your mother, because I'm wondering how it affected you guys growing up as young men, because she eventually found someone else. She started dating
It
Joe.
was worse. Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Okay, and Joe was from Jamaica,
Yes, he was from Jamaica.
and he kind of charmed your mother for a while,
Yeah.
and she finally agreed to go out on a date with him, and then
Yeah.
she brought him home. And he had some crazy accent that y'all did not get, right?
I heard a Jamaican accent for the first time. I'm like, what is this? I was 7. You know, I've heard accents. You know, you watch TV. You know, you hear little stuff, but I'm like, you know, he's like, you know, wow, you know, he's talking like that. I'm like,
You know what?
I don't want to disrespect, but you know, you're 7 years old.
Right.
You hear blood clot, blood clot. What are you talking about? I actually asked him, like, why do you sound like that? I'm from Jamaica, you know, and yeah, okay, Jamaica, okay, you know, get used to it. You know, you're a kid, you don't have that much conversation, you
Right.
know. Okay, he's Jamaican, that's my mother's guy. Okay, get with it, you know, before you get it. So
How did she act when he was in the house? Was she different than
when he first came around, we could tell that she liked him because she started acting different. You know, she was like on her best behavior. So, you know, I'm looking at my mother like, wow, she's not yelling, you know, she's calm and hey kids, and you know, you don't really talk like that. I know you don't talk like that. So I could tell that she liked him. You know, he was a charming guy. He was very charming at first.
in the beginning?
Absolutely.
When did it change?
I would say about 6-7 months in, my mother got pregnant with my sister, and then he flipped. He just like, you know what? I'm a Rasta, and you know that was like, well, what is a Rasta? And he's like, you know, I'm growing dreads and I'm smoking weed, and this is what I do, and this is my religion. And matter of fact, you kids need chastising, you boys. And then he just started brutalizing us for like 4 years, just beating us with whatever, extension cords, rubber hoses, whatever.
I read that, you know, the belt wasn't enough, so he moved to the extension cord.
Yeah, he started with a belt, but it was like, this isn't really doing the job. So he found an extension cord. You know, extension cord is like a whip. And, you know, that leaves whelps and, you know, that like rip your skin. But he was like, yeah, this is it right here. So we started getting beat every day. Extension cords.
And the hard part about that is when you're a kid and this foreigner is in your home, especially the male and boy dynamic is in your home, and you're hoping that if all else fails, you're going to have your mother's going to protect you.
Right.
What happened with that?
Well, the first time he hit us, I called my mother at work. And I'm like, yo, this man that we known for like 6 months just hit me. And, you know, her reaction was that he told her that, you know, we're undisciplined kids and we need some chastising, so she's going to give him permission to beat us. And when she said that, you know, our hearts sunk. Like, you know, we thought he did that because, you know, my mother wasn't home. But now my mother was like, yeah, that's what it's going to be from now on. Once that happened, you know, there's nobody to save you. You're just out there.
So you say every day. That's hard for people to believe. But were you literally getting beat
Every 6 out of 7 days.
Why? Like, what would be the reasons? You're not
It
screwing up
could be anything.
Like what?
y'all making too much noise. Your room's not clean. Dishes aren't done. He could just come home and just look at you and just be like, you know what? I forgot to beat you from something from the other day. You don't even remember what it was. Extension cord, you just get whipped, basically.
And this is Joe.
Joe, yes.
Joe also was the first one to bring Bob Marley in y'all house.
Yes.
Right?
He introduced reggae music to us. He came and he had the album. I think it was Nazi Dread was the album. And he was like, this guy Bob Marley's from Jamaica, and he's the greatest thing in Jamaica. I think, he's the greatest. And I'm like, Bob Marley, I don't care about reggae. I don't care about nothing. I don't care about reggae. My brother was like, yo, I like this. But, Bob Marley, he took a real liking to Bob Marley. Because, after Joe introduced it to us, I was just like, yeah, he's cool, whatever. Now I love him. But at the time, I was like, yeah, whatever. My brother was like, yo, Bob Marley, he really got into the reggae music from that.
Is that where the influence in Boogie Down Productions music come from?
I would say yes. Originally, yes.
So while all of this is happening, this abuse happening at the home, it's crazy. I read at one point y'all didn't get haircuts for like 6 years.
More than that, yeah, but we no haircuts,
Longer than 6 years?
Way longer than 6
You
years.
didn't get it. How long was it? The longest span y'all went in between haircuts.
Me, I went 11 years.
Without getting a haircut, bro?
Yeah.
You took the roster thing seriously.
I didn't want
Kenny hair was
that.
nappy as hell in St. Peter's.
By that time I had a haircut. I didn't want that, but no haircut. Just there was no money for a haircut. I mean, a haircut on the list of things we needed probably was like 5th or 6th.
Yeah.
Haircut, that's a come up.
That's a come up.
Yeah.
So y'all wearing the same clothes
Every day.
People bullying you at school.
Every day.
You got an abusive situation at home.
Yes.
Okay, what's your comment?
How was your performance in school?
I was actually an honor roll student.
I knew you was gonna say that.
Despite all of that, I was an honor roll student. I was straight and narrow. My brother, on the other hand, was the exact opposite.
KRS-One.
He was a horrible
The
student.
teacher.
It's shocking.
Was it? But it wasn't that he wasn't intelligent. Was he just not into the curriculum?
He was
hold on.
incredibly intelligent, but he just didn't care about school at all. Ever. From like kindergarten. Just didn't do the work. Just, I don't care. There's nothing you could do. They beat him. They tried to beat it into him. I don't care.
He did not care about school. Did he ever say why not?
No, he never did. He just, his first 14 years of life, he just drifted along. He was just a person on earth. Then hip hop.
We gonna get to that. So he ended up dropping out of school at what grade?
He didn't finish 9th grade.
He didn't finish 9th. KRS-One, the teacher. Easily the most intelligent person to ever pick up a mic. Arguably, you could talk, right?
Barely escaped 8th grade. By the time 9th grade, it was inevitable. He really should have been out at 8th grade. I'm gonna keep it 100 with the world. By 8th grade, it was over.
It was over. He eventually got tired of the extension cord. First time he ran away from home, he was 11?
Yeah, first time he ran away from home, he was 11 years old.
Wow.
11 years old. And you begged your mother to bring him back home?
Yeah, I was 10 years old, and I was the mediator between my mother and my brother. And he ran away to Prospect Park. At that point, we lived in Brooklyn. And he ran away to Prospect Park, and I went, I had to go get him, tell him to come back home. He didn't want to come back home. My mother was acting like she didn't want him back home. He's 11. And, I'm begging my mother, and I'm begging him, and, eventually he came to like a middle point, and I talked him into coming home that time, But that was like the first time he ran away. He was like 11.
Well, how many times did he end up running away?
Like 6.
6 times.
Yeah.
What the saga of Joe? How bad did it get with Joe?
With us or with
Everything.
Well, he used to beat my mother. He used to beat us every day with extension cord.
Listen,
He was out of. This dude was wild, man.
Get the book,
The
yo.
name of the book is My Brother's Name is Kenny, the greatest true hip hop story ever told. This is what makes it so great. Understanding what you guys had to endure. That same man said he wished your brother would die.
Yeah, I mean, he tried to kill him. I mean, he basically tried to kill him one time. I mean, Joe tried to kill Chris one time, and Chris had to go to the hospital and lied to the doctors and said he fell off a bike, which we didn't own. It was bad, but eventually Chris stood up to him.
Because you were being bullied a lot.
Tremendous. It wasn't even called bullying back then. Now it would be considered bullying. Back then it was just, boys being boys.
Yeah.
I was tall. I was the tallest kid in my school. Dark skin,
Nappy hair.
No haircut. Wear the
Wear
same clothes
flooding
every day.
jeans,
Floods.
jeans was flooded.
Holes in my sneak. Most of the people in my neighborhood were on welfare, and we look bad to them. So imagine, everybody's poor and they're looking just like y'all look terrible. And they were poor. So, we were like the poorest people in the whole area. So every day was bullying and laughed at, until I discovered sports, which changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so you discovered sports, and then it was hip hop that changed Chris' life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was that first moment of hip hop that you remember?
Well, first of all, when we moved to the Bronx, we moved next door to Kool Herc. The next building over.
Wow.
So
From
y'all
Kool
was
Herc.
1600 said
Yeah, we lived at 1600 Sedgwick. Herc lived at 1520, which is the next building over. So on the day that Herc created hip hop, we was outside in front of his door.
Wow.
But we were like, I was 7, Chris was 8. We were little kids, but hip hop was right in front of our door. I used to ride my big wheel past Herc's building every day.
Wow.
We had a big wheel that we brought from Lennox Terrace.
Damn.
That was our last,
The last
that was our
luxury.
yeah. We brought the big wheel from Lennox Terrace. So,
Bentley.
so that, so we got hip hop from day one, but, and then we moved to Brooklyn. So Brooklyn didn't have hip hop like the Bronx did. So you get like sporadic hip hop, so by like 78, 79, we was on hip hop, but it was so hard to get because it was only on cassette.
Yeah.
But when Rapper's Delight came out, that's when Chris, to me, when he mentioned it to I was the first person he ever mentioned it to. I thought he was crazy. I want to be a rapper. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? You just got left back in 8th grade. You want to be a rapper. I mean, there was like 5 rappers. At this time.
Curtis Blow, Melly.
And they weren't even out yet.
Yeah.
So we heard one rap. We heard the Sugar Hill Gang. There was one song, and he was like, he had an epiphany. He was like, "This is what I'm going to do with the rest of my life." He's 14.
He said that at 14?
Yes.
Wow.
Did that day he went from Larry to becoming KRS?
No, that was a gradual process. He went from Larry to Larry G.
That was his first name.
Larry G, which I thought he was crazy. We used to argue. I was his first hater. I was the official first hater. Because everything he told me, I was like, you have lost your mind. I'm telling, just like how we're talking now, I'm like, you're bugging.
Kidding.
Because, me and Chris are only 10 months apart.
Yeah.
So we're almost like,
Twins almost.
Yeah, we didn't have an older brother, younger brother relationship. Like, really, if anything, I was really like the older brother. Like I said, I was like the lead.
Uh-huh.
So, he's telling me I'm going to be a rapper. Like, you don't even write. Like, what are you talking about? I'm Larry G. He was, ladies and gentlemen, he was bugging. We see how it turned out.
Yeah.
But if you think this is 1979, he was bugging.
He was bugging.
I want to jump in just kind of again because I didn't meet Kenny until I was 17 and in college, and he talked about he discovered sports, ended up becoming an incredible high school player. Kenny here in Brooklyn at Abraham Lincoln High School, and he got noticed through scouts and college coaches recruiting him because they were coming to see other people play, and they noticed him in that dire situation he was in. Somehow he's still going to school, playing ball, and got, signed to go to St. Peter's where he and I met. It fascinates me, though, hearing this, and I've known Kenny now over 30 years when I think about it, that really, you and your brother should have been like, you needed therapy. Like you guys should have been
Absolutely.
and mental. Like, how does kids today go to school dealing with even 10% of this? Like, never mind the poverty. If you're a child right now in the home and your mom has a boyfriend or a stepfather and he's beating you or beating your mom, that kid is dealing with trauma. How do you get up and go to school is fascinating to me. But I'm wondering, Kenny, is that the reason, because you had a free ride to college, why you studied psychology? Like what? Because basketball players just don't normally go get a I'm gonna take up psychology. You was like general arts, liberal arts.
Right.
Training,
Why did you pick
nutrition.
snacks and theater? I'm a snacks and theater major.
That would be a dope major, actually.
Because-
Study of snacks.
Yeah. Why did you pick psychology?
You know, it's funny, at 18, 19, I was trying to understand the world. And I was trying to understand why people do what they do. And I had a core requirement class with Psychology 101. Everybody had to take that. So I took Psychology 101 and it really hit me like, this is the study of human behavior. And this was really what I was searching for my whole life. Like, why did my mother make the decisions she made? Why did my brother make the decisions he made? Because, even in this, I'm not even painting people how wild he was as a teenager. Like, he was a wild teenager. Like, why did he make the decisions he made? And I was just trying to understand the world, and psychology was like my highway to probably the answer.
Everybody, I didn't take Psych 101. What was I doing?
I don't know. Everybody had to take it.
Oh.
Well,
Flunking it.
Pass fail.
we're not gonna talk about Heather as a freshman. We're gonna leave that alone.
She said that you changed the whole social life of
Said-
that
he
school.
said-
Do we want to go there, Heather?
Yes.
Heather's a freshman.
What was she like?
Okay, let me paint the picture real quick.
Hey, Ben, don't listen to this.
Heather was a freshman when I was a senior.
Uh-huh.
But I had redshirted my freshman year, so I was actually like a super senior. So I was actually like there 4.5 years. So in my 4.5 years at St. Peter's, now University, shout out to them, we never really had a party in the dorms. Maybe 5 people could get together. You had to have a special permission from the RA to have a party in the dorm. You had to fill out paperwork to have a party. So in my 4 years there was never any party. It was a quiet Catholic school. In comes this freshman, City, and turned the whole dorms upside down. Heather had fried chicken parties. Cooked all this chicken, all this beer, right? In the dorms, had music, and then invited the whole hood to the college. Keep in mind, there was people that came that never even came in the neighborhood that our school was in. Forget coming. I'm talking about dozens, like an army came to the school of just cornrows, baggy pants, Timbs.
Oh my God.
You're like, yo, who is this? We come to the Heather party. Heather brought the whole hood to the party multiple times.
Wow.
So Heather just turned our dorms into like a club. And she was 17. We had never seen nothing like it before.
Wow.
I had never seen nothing like Heather
Nothing.
when she came to St. Peter's College. And they didn't say anything. RA was just like, yo.
It was scared of her.
No, I asked the RA if
you
he
didn't.
wanted some chicken. I know how to barter.
Wow.
Yeah, Heather came in there as a storm.
Let me ask you this question, because I gotta hear the story from you, like, and I'm gonna skip some things to encourage y'all to read the book. There's a story about Latin Quarters.
Multiple in there, yeah.
Multiple stories, but this one in particular is when the DJ played The Bridge by MC Shan. I'm not sure if it was Red Alert that day DJing, but
It was not that day, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And then immediately after, they played South Bronx, right?
Right.
And that was the first time you heard it in public?
Yes.
What was going on at that time?
Well, first of all, I couldn't believe my brother had a record out. start there. The same guy who I shared socks with, who I used to argue over packs of cookies with, has a record that Red Alert is playing on Red Alert. If you were on the Red Alert show, you were a star in New York.
Absolutely.
There was barely major radio play. Maybe one song will get on. Every other song was on the mix show. So if Red Alert played your record, you were a superstar.
Okay.
South Bronx had been out 3 weeks. Red Alert played it for 3 weeks in a row. Chris came by my boy Daryl's house in Brooklyn and left 2 passes for this club called Latin Quarters. I had never been to a club before. So we were going to meet Chris at this place called Latin Quarters, go inside. Got to Latin Quarters, it's packed, like 1,000 people in there. They start playing hip hop. And they played MC Shan's The Bridge. And they playing the bridge. Everybody's dancing, the bridge. And I'm like, wow, you know, I know South Bronx is an answer to the bridge. I wonder if they're gonna play my brother's song in here. And I'm there. And then they mixed the vocals of South Bronx right in. Many people tell me this style is terrific. It is kind of different. So I'm like, yo, they playing this song. And I'm like, is it gonna clear the dance floor? Like, I'm scared. But people are still there dancing. They're like, okay. And then the chorus came. We're from the South Bronx. And the whole Latin Quarters exploded. The whole place went to the roof. And I fainted. I practically fainted. I don't remember anything after that. I was unconscious. I could not believe that my brother had a hit record. That in this club, the Latin Quarter, and everybody, I mean, the Bronx went crazy. I mean, everybody was singing, but the Bronx, people from the Bronx, I thought they were going to tear the club apart. They went absolutely crazy for this record. I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it.
Could that be based? Because when you read this book, The Greatest True Hip Hop Story Ever Told, I can't believe it either. Now that I know y'all past.
Yeah.
Is that
That's
why
what
you?
I'm saying.
Is that a big part of why you couldn't believe it? So,
Yes, I mean, I consider myself a hip hop fan and a student of the game.
Okay.
So I read everybody's story. I study everything. I love it all. So most of the stories that I read, everybody's like, I'm hard. I used to sell drugs. I used to rob people. I just got out of jail. And then I gave that up and I decided to become a rapper. That's like everybody's story. And then when 50 came, it was like he got shot. You know, he has proof that he did. And after that, everybody got shot.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, you know, like, I'm like, really, everybody? But I'm like, okay.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, well, what about, nobody's telling the story about the kids who were in the hood that was regular kids that played ball and, you know, played skelly and drunk sundew drinks and, you know, regular kids. Nobody's telling that side of the hood. And I was in the hood I lived in New York when it was the murder capital of America. And I was a regular timid kid in that environment. And nobody's telling that side of the story. And then to see my brother, you know, who was, they consider him, I'm not going to say crazy, but the authorities consider him practically, like, had a learning disability practically, they consider him. To see that guy become the guy that everyone knows he is incredible. It's almost like a miracle. Like, I wouldn't believe it if I didn't see it with my own 2 eyes.
Wow.
So that's why, you know, I called it, you know, the greatest true hip hop story ever told, because it's the truth and it's not like anybody. What KRS-One went through to just get in the game is unbelievable. Like, now, you know, it's easier to become an artist now. But back in those days, it was almost impossible to get in the music business. I mean, and in the rap game, it was like, by that point, it was like 20 rappers when KRS-One came out, you know. And so, you know, I say that to say, to see where he was and what he became, it's incredible.
Kenny Parker, man, I gotta let Tracy and Mike Muse ask you a question, even though they didn't know the lyrics to Criminal Minded.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
Hey, I'm wondering, when you first brought up doing this book to your brother, did he have any qualms, any issues with any aspect of that book?
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that, because when I first decided I wanted to do the book, I said, I want to tell the whole story, you know, the real story that people don't know, you know, and embarrassing parts of our lives. I want to tell it all.
Yeah.
But, you know, I called Chris and I was like, yo, I want to tell a story. I want to tell the real story, but, you know, I don't want to mess up your image and how people know you. So, you know, tell me how much I can really tell. And his exact words were, I don't give a fuck. Tell it all. Don't forget this. Don't forget this. Don't forget this. That was the exact word. So after he said that, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm telling everything. I'm snitching on everything. So, you know, he gave me the blessing to tell it all. And then after the book was finished, after the rough was finished, I sent it to him to read. But I gave him 2 rules. I said, you know, you can't change anything. I said, this is my perspective. It's not your perspective. It's what I saw, not yours. So you can't change that. But if there's anything in the book that you want me to take out that you don't want people to know, I'll take it out.
Got it.
And he said, no, leave it all in there. And I said, if there's anything that you think is not accurate, because I want it to be the BDP Bible, you know what I mean? Yeah. Everything in there is factual. If you want to know about our group, you read this book and it's as factual as possible. So I said, if there's anything in the book that you think is not factual, correct me. And he was like, no, everything in there is how, you know, how I remember it. So those are the only 2 rules. So basically, it's all, you know, it's the way it is.
Ooh, that's just we're not even. I'm only in the first 5 chapters. I'm just discussing with y'all, right?
Yeah, really. I mean, a lot happened, and you know, then you know, he became homeless. I became homeless. You know, it's a lot that went on, and you know, he became homeless, and then like next thing you know, he had a record. You know, it's just so mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, he's KRS-One, and then you know, the battle with Shan, which I thought he was gonna lose, by the way.
You thought he was gonna? Did you?
Once again, I was hating.
What you say?
Here's my exact words, and don't laugh, America. When I first heard South Bronx, I said to him, I said, you know, sounds like you're dissing MC Shan. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, you know, Shan is dope. Like, I thought MC Shan was dope. I liked MC Shan.
Yeah, everybody liked MC
So
Shan.
I was like, you know, Shan is dope.
Yeah.
And he was like, he's aight. I'm like, Shan is not aight. Shan is dope. That was my initial conversation. Like, Shan is not aight. He's dope. So that's, you know, that's how our relationship is. You know what I mean? So when Shan came out with Kill That Noise, the answer to South Bronx, I came to Chris and I was like, you heard Kill That Noise? I told you. You know, I told you not to mess with Shan. I told you. That's how I'm talking to him. And he was like, I got the answer. It's called The Bridge Is Over. And I'm like, The Bridge Is Over? How does it go? You know, I'm talking to him like this. The bridge is over. How does it go? And he's like, well, you know, it's to a reggae bass line. And, you know, the bass line is like, you know, doom, 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 doom. I was like, oh, that shit is whack. It's over. Your career's over.
Listen. You thought this was whack?
No, I didn't hear the beat. He just was mimicking the mouth. I didn't hear all this part yet.
This is your brother, bro. Wow.
I got to see him do this live for the first time at Union Square when he premiered it. And once again, I almost fainted. Because, you know, he was trying to explain to me what The Bridge Is Over, what it was. And I told him, that sounds whack. So he says to me, come to Union Square. I'm going to do it tonight. Just come to Union Square. So I'm like, all right, let's go to Union Square. So I'm in Union Square watching him perform, thinking that your career, you know, South Bronx was dope, but, you know, I'm so proud of you, but, you know, you're winding down now. You know, this is what I'm thinking. Because, I mean, you got to understand, MC Shan, backed by Marley Marl.
Yes.
Shout out to Marley Marl. Mr.
Crew.
Magic is on the radio. They was on the radio dissing BDP the night before. These bums, it's over. Shan is back. We cut, you know, they was on the radio dissing. So I'm like, wow, like, you know, what are you gonna do? Like, Magic and Marley, like, they're kings. I got this record called The Bridge Is Over. Like, really? Like, how's it go? Like, So when we went to Union Square, you know what I mean? I'm like, yo. So we went to Union Square, and then he threw on the do-dum. I'm like, oh, that's what he was singing to me in the beat. And everybody's quiet, everybody's like, what is this? Because we never heard reggae and hip hop mixed before.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
So, everybody's like, what is this? And then he goes, the bridge is over, but bye-bye.
When you fainted, that's when you fainted.
I don't remember after that. But everybody fainted. The whole place went crazy. Like, he's chatting Jamaican. This dude was just singing regular in South Bronx. He's a whole new dude on this record. And then he's like, Magic Mouth is used for sake. Nobody never said anybody's name like that.
He called everybody.
Everybody. He went in Marley shit. I couldn't believe it. We had never heard anything like this before.
Yeah, that was battle rap on a whole. The world hadn't heard.
He invented battle. This was the first song
on wax.
On wax, this was the first battle record ever made. Was The Bridge Is Over. No one had ever disrespected anyone like that before in the history of music.
Wow.
Ever. So, and I thought Kill That Noise was disrespectful by Shan because he was laughing at the end of the record. KRS-One, ha ha ha, he's laughing. I'm like, yo, he's laughing at you. You know what I mean? I had no idea what Chris had in store. I just was, I still like shit. I still like The Bridge.
Yeah. Everybody liked The Bridge. Everybody liked Sham.
Yeah, but That Bridge Is Over was a game-changing record. I think one of the greatest rap records ever made.
Absolutely. Why did he do it? Did he really have that much love for the Bronx, or did he see it as a way of getting notoriety?
Well, I don't want to put words in his mouth.
Why do you think he did?
Well, he loved the Bronx.
Okay.
And Mr. Magic and Marley Marl dissed him. See, they wanted to be down with the Juice Crew. So Scott LaRock, rest in peace, and KRS-One went to the studio where Mr. Magic and Marley Marl were to play their demo for Mr. Magic. And Mr. Magic was like, this is trash, threw it in the garbage. You guys are bums. Get out. You will never be like my MC Shan. You are trash. Get out. And threw them out of the studio. So as they're going back to the Bronx, I guess with their tail between their legs, Chris is like, nah, I'm better than Shan. And then he wrote South Bronx, which was like, let me give you a history of the Bronx where I'm from, and let me take a little shot at Shan. But the thing was, he knew Shan was going to answer.
Mm-hmm.
So he wrote The Bridge Is Over too. So he had The Bridge Is Over on deck, waiting for Shan to answer. So South Bronx was the bait, really.
Mm-hmm.
For The Bridge Is Over was the real diss. So the South Bronx was just to set you up. But it ended up being a huge record on its own.
Uh-huh.
But it was still the bait for The Bridge Is Over, which was the cut, So that's really what it was. And that's how you had to come into the game. It wasn't easy to get in the game then. It was only a handful of people you could hand your demo tape to.
Yeah.
He handed it to Mr. Magic, and Marley Marl was the #1 producer in the hip-hop game at that point.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Rick Rubin as well.
Rick Rubin, but you got the Juice Crew. That's Big Daddy Kane. That's
Biz, all that. Biz was destroying, right?
Master Ace.
Right. So,
Craig G.
Right.
Roxanne Shante.
Right. So you go to Marley, and he had just did Eric B. and Rakim. He had just did Eric B. for President, and Check Out My Melody too, which was the #1 record in New York. So that's the #1 guy. So you go to them with your demo and they tell you, get the hell out of here, you're terrible. There's not many places to go. So his attitude was, I'm coming in the game like this now. Okay, watch this. He was a battle rapper already from battling in the Bronx. The world wasn't ready for a battle rapper to come in the game. They was ready for song makers,
Yeah.
A battle rapper came in the game and turned it upside down.
Who were some of the people he battled early on?
I mean, he told me stories. But I mean, I don't want to say, you know, I'm
Okay.
gonna.
Okay. Yeah. So
There, he's had other battles with other MCs even before that were out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even before South Bronx came, because Scott LaRock used to take them all around, and Scott LaRock, that KRS was like his pit bull. You know, you think you nice and sick his dog on him. You know what I mean? I got this kid KRS who was still in the shelter at that point.
Still living in the shelter.
In the shelter. So that's why, you know, when he said he's gonna battle MC Shan, he was in the shelter. So it's like a homeless guy gonna battle a number one rapper. Like it's mind-boggling to me. You know what I mean? I'm a hip hop fanatic at this point. I can't believe it. Like, you're homeless. You're gonna battle against Marley Marl and Mr. Magic. How? You know what I mean? This is how this is my mentality, which, you know, now looking back on it, people be like, you know, you're crazy. But at that time in '86, how?
Yeah.
You're the same dude that didn't even finish 9th grade. Like, I know you differently than the world. Like, how? But, you know, Andy, you know, the bridge is over was for me too, I think.
Yeah, the bridge, he was just. Look, man, listen, give a round of applause for Kenny Parker, man.
That was great.
An amazing moment. We got to do part 2.
Yes.
Yes, please. I got so much more, you know.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to have you come back.
A must.
That would be fantastic.
I'm going to have you come back. I'm going to figure out in 2, not next week, but the following week.
Let's go.
Okay?
Let's
Come
go.
back. I want to do part 2. I hope you enjoyed this conversation.
I had a fantastic time. Thank you for having me, Sway. You know, always
Absolutely.
love.
Yeah,
always
man.
love. And HB, you know, that's my little sister,
That's a
you know.
crazy little sister right
I
there.
mean, I got stories about her for days,
Just
too.
write that book.
For
Yeah.
days.
Okay? I already know.
Days. Heather
Chicken
B
parties,
stories.
Man, chicken
Wow,
parties.
fried chicken.
Right.
Parker, you are a hip-hop legend.
Yes.
I appreciate
Thank
that.
you for your contribution
Thank you,
as a
Kenny.
producer, as a DJ, as a historian,
Thank
as
you.
the brother of one of the greatest of all time. And I tell this story all the time. I'm going to end with this because I know we got our next show about to come up. And Rose Daniels, who co-authored this book for you.
Shout out to Rose. My book wouldn't be what it is without her.
You did
Thank
a
you.
good
Rose.
job, Rose. Excellent, excellent, excellent.
Rose.
Get 'em,
I often
Rose.
tell this story that your brother and my partner King Tech and me are really close, have
Yes.
been since the early
Yes.
90s. And your brother would come to our house a lot in Tarzana, California, before I moved to New York and sit in my bedroom. We have a bunch of bedrooms in that house, and we would all sit down and just talk. And I remember MTV was asking me to work there, and I just got a call. We were in a conversation. Oh, I got to take this call. And Chris was like, well, who is that, Sway?
That's a good impersonation.
Right. And I was like, yeah, this is MTV, man. I don't know why they trying to get me to go over there. This boy band shit. You know, I'm a hip hop, Chris. Sway. I'm not going to do the impersonation. I can't do the whole thing. Sway, I said, what do you think about this, Chris, man? You know, me and Ted got a home. We doing fine for ourselves, right? Sway, if you're not a part of an organization or a movement that's against the establishment by the time you're 18, then you have no heart. Wow. But by the time you're 25, if you're not a part of that same organization that you were against, then you have no brain. Wow. I said the next time they call, I'm going to say yes.
That's dope.
They called again with the third time they called. I didn't know it was going to be the next time. I said yes. That's how I ended up decided to go to MTV. It was because of your brother.
Wow.
Wow.
He may even remember that. He used to come. That's when he took the. He was working for Quest Records, was it? Or
Yeah, Warner Brothers,
Brothers.
Reprise.
Reprise. He
Yeah.
became the president of
Yeah,
Reprise.
yeah.
And when he moved to LA,
Yeah.
who he think he was hanging with?
Wow, that's dope.
Yeah, he was
That's
hanging
dope.
with me.
I did
and
not
Tech.
know that.
Yeah.
That's exclusive.
That's an exclusive. You can put in your book.
Yeah.
All right, well, Kenny Parker, big round of applause. Y'all want to talk to Kenny Parker? Hit up his social media at
DJ Kenny Parker on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and DJ Kenny Parker.